Hi, you guys. How are you? I hope you guys are doing so well. I'm so excited because it's almost Christmas, and with all the stuff going on, it's just nice to have some peace and quiet. Not so much of a silent night around here because of little Bubby, but we're doing the best we can. I wanted to just finish our series on earth as it is in heaven with Luke chapter 2, verse 4 through 7. Here I go. It says, Joseph also went up to the town of Nazareth in Galilee, to Judea, to the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house of the family line of David, to be registered along with Mary, who was engaged to him and was pregnant. While they were there, the time came for her to give birth. Then she gave birth to her firstborn son, and she wrapped him tightly in cloth and laid him in a manger, because there was no guest room available for them. Couple things to this, you guys. It's actually so interesting. I've been studying this, and the manger, actually, I was watching a lot of commentaries, and all the nativity scenes that we have in our house with little Jesus and this manger with all the animals, it's actually not entirely true. A manger back then was a feeding trough, and it was a stone sort of feeding trough that the animals would eat out of. So literally, Mary placed baby Jesus in this dirty feeding trough. I'm sure it's very deep, so I'm sure they maybe covered it in hay so he had like a place to lay. But isn't that so interesting that it's actually a manger? And it wasn't like a shed type of thing that we always see, you know, with all of our nativity sets, but it was either out in the field or it was outside of the inns, because all of the inns, like it says, there was no room in the inn, so that they had to go to a manger. The inns were just these kind of weird circular things, and in the middle of the inns were all the animals that the people would come in on their animals and then go to bed at night. It wasn't anything fancy. A lot of them didn't even have ceilings or anything. There was no room for them in there, so she could have possibly given birth literally in the center where all the animals hung out. I just find that so interesting. Another fun fact about Mary and Joseph was that, yeah, they were from the family line of David. So that's why they had to travel to Bethlehem from Nazareth, which is actually 90 miles. And she was pregnant. A lot of people believe that she actually went before she was 9 months pregnant because it was such a long journey. I always thought, okay, she was 9 months pregnant and like gave birth there, but it was such a long journey. It probably took a long time for them to get there. So the start of her journey, she was probably not 9 months. While they were there, she gave birth to Jesus in the manger. So interesting. Mary and Joseph did not have a lot of money. And so at the end of Luke chapter 2, you see that they give two turtle doves, the birds, instead of an actual sacrifice like the lamb. But she had the Lamb of God. So that's another really interesting fact. They were so poor. What I love about this is it shows the heart of God. Mary and Joseph were not married, and she got pregnant. A lot of people were so angry at the couple because they thought that they had intimate relations before they got married. And it says in the text that Joseph was actually a very righteous man, so he would not have done that. And people were so angry at Mary that she was pregnant that people wanted to actually stone her to death. Stoning was such a gruesome, violent death, and such a terrible way to go. I can't even believe that that was what life was like back then. So Joseph, being such a righteous man, he could have lost everything by staying with Mary. He could have lost his whole career, his reputation, and he was beginning to, because there was a lot of gossip going on, I'm sure. But he stayed with her to support her through this time, even though that probably was a very hard choice for him, and decided to actually take her to the census with him, because back then Mary didn't need to go to the census because Joseph was the one in the family line of David. So only he needed to come to Bethlehem for the census. But interestingly enough, he took Mary, and a lot of scholars believe that that's actually because he was trying to protect her from the town of Nazareth, because so many people were so angry with her. Another thing I love that I find so interesting was that shepherds were the very first people to hear the good news that Jesus was there. Back then, in those times, you guys, shepherds were like the lowest of the low. They were literally out of the town. They were not townspeople. People didn't really associate with them because shepherds had to work 24/7, keeping watch over their sheep and livestock. And so they didn't have a day to Sabbath. And that was really wrong, you know, to not Sabbath back then. So they were known as these dirty people out in the fields, that they just were unclean people. And God chose these shepherds to be the first to hear of the good news of the Lord. And I love that. That just shows the heart of God in this whole story. Jesus was birthed from a Virgin Mary and Joseph, who were poor. They didn't have a lot of societal influence. They came from a no-name town, a no-name city up in hill country. And shepherds were the first people that the angel Gabriel spoke to, saying, go and see a baby. He is wrapped in cloth, lying in a manger, literally lying in a feed trough is what the angel Gabriel was really saying. I just think that's so interesting. I love the heart of the Lord. I love the whole picture of it, because it was literally turning the world upside down. Caesar Augustus, who was ruling back then, he was actually, a lot of people called him the savior of the world. So Jesus came in at the perfect time, because God was trying to tell people, that is not the savior of the world. I will give you the savior of the world. And Caesar Augustus, his ruling was over when he died. All these high people in society, their rulings are over as soon as they die. Whoever is governing us, whoever's our governor, whoever's our president, none of that matters, because the King of the world, Jesus, will reign forever and ever. He says, I am the Alpha, I am the Omega, I am the beginning, I am the end. I just wanted to share that story because it's Christmas, and I love Christmas. And whatever you're going through this Christmas, it's not about the tree or the gifts, or I know we're all so stressed out with buying presents for everyone. And oh my gosh, did we make cookies? Did we do all the things with our kids that we wanted to do? Did we go, I don't know, did we go out and look at the lights? None of that matters. Jesus is the reason for the season. I know we've heard it a million times, but it is so true. He came for you and I, because this is not a perfect world, but he loves us so much that he came, that God sent his only son for us. Have a Merry Christmas, you guys. God bless.